That was intense. Thank you so much. First off, I'd like to acknowledge our great song by John. I taught John everything he knows, so welcome. Yes. Tuao kakiao. Nasigasan kisigao pisa muasa sega. Wikas kotinia. Thanks so much for coming, everybody. My name's Max FineDay. I'm from Sweetgrass First Nation, and I'm also an alumnus of Next Up and president of the University of Saskatchewan Students' Union. So we're here. No, come on. Let's get this done fast, people. Come on. So I'm here to talk a little bit tonight about change and making change in our community. That's our beautiful city there on my Instagram, because I'm modern. So I couldn't talk about change and making change without mentioning my mom and dad. That's us. So those are my folks, and I wouldn't be here without them today. When I was growing up, I can remember always there being a discussion about causes that they were fighting for, things that they believed in, trying to make the world a better place, and trying to make change. My mom's involvement is largely with her job, her being at the law school here at the university, trying to make law school a place where Aboriginal students can see their traditional laws recognized, to decolonize a place that's always talking about the crown, difficult thing to do, as well as in her union organizing. You know, I vividly remember her telling me the importance of always standing up for the little guy, even when I was in my car seat. And my dad's passion is in a vision where children aren't left behind in reserve education, a place where we can win, where we can learn our language and be able to speak it, rebuild our nation. He also spent many days working in legal aid, fighting against a system that was dedicated certainly to justice for some, but definitely not justice for all. I grew up in a fairly upper middle class neighborhood, Newtana, and went to Victoria School. I had a tight-knit crew of friends, most of whom were Inhao or Métis. In some ways, my journey to activism, or to change-making, started at Victoria School in grade 5, and that was the first year I was stopped by the police. I remember running. It was summertime. I had spent the day at a friend's house, watching TV, being 10, but I had to get home for supper. My mom told me, you have to be home at 6, don't be late, hate waiting for you. Now, I was less than a block away from home when a car pulled up beside me, and the passenger said, "What's your hurry?" It was the police. Now, I had been taught by classroom visits and by assemblies at my school that the police were there to help and that they could be trusted. Now, when the officer asked me that, I laughed awkwardly. I didn't really know what she meant. The officer got out of the car, asked me to stand by a tree nearby, and I didn't understand. She then asked me, "What are you doing on this side of town? Why are you running, and what's in your pockets?" You know, I don't think I'll ever be able to forget the look on my mother's face when I told her. It was fear and sadness. You know, at the height of all the talk of the Starlight Tours, she could only give me a hug and tell me to go wash up for dinner. You know, I didn't really realize what had happened or the implications of it all until many years later. But you move on. It became a regular occurrence for me in the city, unfortunately, and I got used to it along with my friends. Now, I have to make a point clear. I don't bring this up to shame or discredit the Saskatoon police, but this was my life. This was my reality of growing up Indigenous in Saskatoon. I often look back and thank those police officers. It was those times, those interactions, where I was made to feel like a criminal, that helped me to understand what injustice was, how sometimes systems of power fail us, and the need for change. When I applied for Next Up in 2010, I was in my first year at the University of Saskatchewan. I had attended some workshops and conferences on Indigenous rights, poverty. I helped out at the Friendship Inn now and then, but I didn't really consider myself a leader in any way, and I was pretty happy to leave the talking to other folks. I didn't know that leadership was for me, frankly. I didn't know that I could be a leader. Now, having faced that racism in Saskatoon, I wasn't sure that I would be accepted into the program. And if I was, I didn't know that others would be able to understand what it was like to grow up in Saskatoon as Nihao. Honestly, I just hadn't had that much exposure to the activist community. But I decided to apply because I did see the need for change in Saskatoon and in Canada. I decided to apply because I know that we can do better, and I felt the Next Step could give me the skills that I needed to start with that change. Next Up is an intense program. For 7 months, participants they meet weekly for an evening and for one full day every month to learn about various issues and skills. Participants also build their networks by meeting over 50 change makers throughout the program. In Next Up, I met other young people like Karen and Kathleen who shared my vision for a more equitable Saskatoon and who were passionate about health, affordable post-secondary education, the environment and the rights of Indigenous peoples. And one thing that I need to get across tonight is that Next Up is a powerful connector. 4 years later, I'm still good friends with Karen and Kathleen and other folks I went through the program with. I'm a strong believer that every presentation should have some cheesy clip art. That's my contribution. Now, while we were in the program, some of the other participants and I began to work with a city councillor by the name of Charlie Clark, some of you might know him, to help him with researching and framing of various municipal issues. Recycling, panhandling were a few that we worked on. And Charlie treated us as equals and valued the perspective that we brought. He became a good friend of mine, and he's someone that I can talk to when I face the challenges that I have in my own leadership journey. And I'm very thankful for that. And I think that's one of the most valuable parts of the program, that it has introduced me to so many other valuable people, valuable leaders in our community, mentors, so that when I don't have the skills that I need to face a particular challenge, I can always go to someone in that community and they can usually point me in the right direction. Through the Next Up program, I learned about issues like climate change, the social determinants of health, and many more. Of course, I don't have time to work on all those issues, but again, it's great just to have that basic education, to know folks working in different struggles, and to having that community. That's on my wall at work. I also learned new skills through the program, through sessions like organizing on a shoestring, which taught us how to maximize the little resources that folks in activism usually have. Tips from the model on storytelling that Next Up uses are invaluable to me. I use them in every speech that I give, all the time at work, and yeah, this is on my wall. So Next Up accepts folks from a diversity of perspectives and people who are at different stages in their activist career. Some members of my cohort had been involved for years and years, and then there were folks like me who were just starting out on our own activist journey. These made our discussions rich because of all the different life experiences and perspectives that we were able to have. Since Next Up, I've found my home in activism. There's a solid base of community organizers here in Saskatoon, many of whom are in this room, and I think we should be proud of that. Folks working on issues ranging from refugee healthcare to being idle no more. I'm so thankful to have been exposed to these issues and campaigns and people, to the passion that is so evident in the social change work of our community. It was the passion that I saw in other activists, as well as some encouragement from some mentors, that prompted me to run for president of the Students' Union. I was inspired by the Quebec student strike. There was an ability to organize there that I'd never seen before. It was something so valuable. There were lessons there that I think we could all learn from. We saw thousands of students march, speak, and educate the public about the importance of accessible and affordable post-secondary education. We saw this movement spurred other students across the country into action as well. We saw the ability to bridge movements so that it wasn't just students marching. There were parents, trade unions, Aboriginal folks, professors, and so many more coming together to vocalize discontent in a meaningful and effective way, and they were successful. So that's my campaign photo. You can't see it there, but it says, "With a forehead this big, he must have some good ideas." It was the most popular one. So I'd been involved in student activism for one way or another for most of my university career. I sat on Students' Council, I'd been involved in other campus clubs, but I didn't give a lot of thought to running for USSU president. But after conversations with other students and mentors, we talked about what the USSU could be, how the Students' Union had fallen into a place of disuse by students, and the opportunities for change available. So I decided to run. That's my campaign team there, looking real serious. We organized. It was exciting. There were hundreds of students voting in USSU elections for the first time. First Nations students, international students, students from every college who had up until that point in their post-secondary experience had been disengaged from the USSU. Our campaign had reached out to many of them in hopes of building an alliance of students in search of a more meaningful relationship with the Students' Union. Now, many folks are quick to write off students as change makers, often thinking they're too busy with their apathy to play a role in social change. But in my conversations with them, students know exactly what they want. Many had said that they haven't been engaged because they didn't feel heard. I think that's an important lesson for us to remember when we're working in social change work. We gave a chance to provide progressive voice, change the status quo, and have students see the Students' Union as relevant again. I don't want to toot my own horn. I know there's some students in the room here, but I'm hopeful and I'm a little confident that nearing the end of my first term, we've been able to make some headway on these issues. So I want Next Up and opportunities like it to be available to more young people, especially Indigenous young people, because in 7 months, it provides opportunities to connect with others in the community, build skills that we need, and deepen one's understanding of issues in ways that would take people years to achieve otherwise. The confidence it instills in young people is vital to allowing us to take on leadership roles. Now, this summer, I'm excited to be part of a pilot project that will see 15 Indigenous youth receive a week of training on the core concepts that are a part of the Next Step program. The intent of this pilot program is to increase the participation of Indigenous youth in the full 7-month program, to build trust and relationships in Indigenous communities, and to better understand how Next Up can most effectively support the leadership development among Saskatchewan's booming Indigenous young population. This kind of leadership and development and community building that happens in Next Up and that is happening here this weekend is important because we face big challenges in Saskatchewan and Canada. We need to think together to generate ideas and to build our skills if we are to overcome these challenges. So I just want to say thanks so much for being here tonight. And I see this as a big version of Next Up for people of all ages, because we're going to be preparing our leadership skills this weekend to be taken to the next level. So I look forward to continuing these conversations with you later tonight, this weekend, whenever you see me on the street, stop by campus. And I just encourage you to take a look at some of the great booths that I know a lot of my good student members are working at tonight. So again, Kinaskomton, thanks so much.